So we have a scene where Alan Christie basically confesses. And I think for Claire, she feels that she really let Malva down, that she missed this very horrific thing that was going on sort of right under her nose.
Ian isn't afraid to kill. And I think in his mind, what he thought, when he found out what Alan did to his sister, there was only one thing on his mind, and that was vengeance for her. So I think young Ian just saw it as, I cannot! Taking out the trash.
Brianna having her family around her when she gives birth is just a really lovely moment, actually, and very, very funny. Never try and do a scene giving birth and making birthing noises in front of Sam and Richard. I was kind of looking up the noises that women really make, because in a lot of TV and film, they just have people screaming. And actually, it's a very guttural sometimes, especially if you've not got painkillers, animalistic sound. And so I was doing that, and then by the end of it, you know, and you've done a lot of takes, Sam and Richard each take were naming which animal I had to sound like. So it was like, when I was off screen, they were like, okay, goat, this one's a goat, go. And it was just like making barring birthing noises. So if there's any outtakes of that, you might want to get your hands on it, because it's interesting.
William Ransom. Your servant, madam. William, I think one of his lines is that how we've met before, and there's that weird, strange familiarity that William seems to have with the people that know who he is, but he doesn't know who they are. Obviously, Bree knows that she's looking at her brother, and you know, William just knows that this is, you know, someone that his dad knows, and that's it. But I think there is some kind of connection, some familiarity that William has.
In Wilmington, Jamie's surprised. Something that happens that he never would have imagined, that he sees his two children together. He sees William and Brianna in the street. Obviously, he can't acknowledge that, but I think there's a wealth of emotions that come to him then, and I think obviously pride and also, you know, I guess a little bit of fear that, you know, William could find out, you know, who Jamie is. But yes, ultimately, it's a huge moment for him, and a very heartfelt one.
Unfortunately, even though the birth, Mandy seems like a perfectly healthy baby, we find out pretty quickly that she has this heart defect, and Claire knows that given the tools that she has in this time and what's available to her, there's no way that she can fix it.
What is it? What's wrong?
We had them attempt to go back in an earlier season to add stakes to this moment in season 7, that if they thought they could just easily go back, then took the stakes away. And now they have a dilemma. Do we try to get back? Do we even know if we can get back to save our child? And it does, and the scene plays fantastic when Claire says, if your child stays here, he's probably going to die. And it's heartbreaking. The whole family is devastated in that moment. One of my favorite moments is when we see Jamie click, and it dawns on him he's going to lose his family just like that. And it's a very powerful scene, but it's also a very powerful and emotional episode.
They don't feel great about going back to their time, and it isn't even their time. They're going back to what would be the late 70s and coming into the 80s. I mean, Mandy's the overriding thing, so it would be difficult, I'd imagine, in those circumstances to be thinking of anything other than, right? So your priority and probably your only thought is going to be to save your child, right? To do whatever's best for your child. But in terms of how they feel about going back, I think they know that it will be for good, because there is a lot of dangers with time travel, and there's, you know, that's probably multiplied many, many times when you're trying to do it with children. So yeah, apprehensive to say the least, but it kind of has to be done. And they don't want to leave their family, they don't want to leave their home, but they kind of have to.
We really wanted to make that feel special and feel very heartfelt. And it was about keeping the way that Ali and I shot it was kind of quite simple, and because we wanted it to be very, very much about the emotion of those goodbyes.
I cry every time I watch that scene at the Stones where they all go through and Jamie turns to Claire and says that iconic line,
"For your sake, I will continue."
In one moment, they've completely lost their whole family.
Yeah.
Happiest place on earth, indeed.
Yeah.
Things never get easy for the Frasers, do they? Just when you think everything's going to be okay and they're all back at the ridge, and then, of course, what happens? Well, Wendigo turns up.
With his band of merry men. You know, this is this sort of event that Claire and Jamie have been so scared of. You know, we've always sort of knew that there was an obituary and that they died in a fire. It looked amazing. It was also quite sad because you're like, oh wow, this is actually going down.